Counterfeit Yamato Takeru. Japan's legendary superhero myth. Episode 4, Kusanagi Sword. Yamato Takeru was troubled. A life of simply following his father's orders. Is that really all he wanted? He was tired of wielding his sword, slaying people, and causing sorrow. So he put it down and set out to conquer the 12 eastern kingdoms. But now, he had abandoned his sword. How could he achieve his goal of subjugation without a weapon? Takeru himself did not know the answer. During his journey, Takeru stops in Ise. He wants to visit his uncle, a priest at Ise shrine. He has a wound in his heart. The pain of having his love severed in the Kumaso. His brother Oowusu's choice. The shadow of Tooko, who was sacrificed. His heart is torn, and his soul is exhausted. Takeru just wants to meet his uncle and heal his wounds. When they arrived at Ise, his uncle warmly welcomed Takeru. He noticed that Takeru was not carrying his sword, but didn't ask, just quietly watched over him. Takeru was comforted by his thoughtfulness. In return, his uncle handed him a sword. It was the sacred sword, Armeno Mulakuemo sword. He described it as an ancient sword. It was the sword that emerged from the tail of the Yamato no Orochi when Susanoo no Mikoto slayed it. It was eventually presented as a sacred treasure to Armati Ilasuo Mikami. It is not a blade that can cut people now. However, it can also serve as a shield to protect oneself. Takeru still harbored doubts about the sword. His uncle sensed his hesitation and had a page accompany him to bear the sword. The page's large build exuded an intimidating presence. He took the sacred sword and held it carefully. Without changing his expression, he simply said, "Please call me Arzuma." "Is that your name?" Takeru asked, and his uncle replied that his name was Tachibarna. But the page stubbornly repeated the same line. "Please call me Arzuma." His uncle ordered the page. "Protect him no matter what. No matter what happens, I will protect you, Takeru, with my very own life." Arzuma no longer gripped his sword and embraced Takeru. Takeru was taken by surprise and confused. He could have retreated, but he could not refuse his uncle's kindness. And so, Takeru, accompanied by Arzuma, set out on his journey east. Yamato Takeru and Arzuma entered the provinces of Surgarmi and Sulugar. The regional administrator were already there to greet them. They greeted the two respectfully with friendly smiles on their faces. But they were poor and tired. When Takeru asked, the regional administrator tearfully replied, "A violent god lives in the swamp on the border. He appears every dawn and brings disaster to both countries. I heard that a brave member of the imperial family from Yamato had set out to conquer the eastern provinces. That is why I have been waiting impatiently." Takeru and Arzuma waited for dawn, lying down in the gazebo that the regional administrator had led them to. But Arzuma didn't sleep, and just stared intently at Takeru's face. Takeru wondered what was going on, and Arzuma replied, "My mission is to protect you. That's why I don't need to sleep all night. I can't trust the people of Surgarmi and Sulugar. Those smiles are fake." Takeru gave a wry smile. "Come to think of it, you don't smile," Arzuma said. "Laughter goes hand in hand with happiness. A smile without happiness is hollow. So what is your definition of happiness?" Arzuma answered Takeru's question without hesitation. "My mission is to protect you, Takeru. I will never leave your side. When you call my name, I will rush to you no matter where I am. That is my happiness. That is my laughter." Takeru felt a sense of discomfort in his chest, but also a smile on his face. "Then keep doing that until morning." With that, Takeru closed his eyes. Takeru wasn't able to sleep at all after that. Azuma was sleeping next to him and his loud snoring woke him up. Giving up on sleep, he went outside to feel the night breeze. The moonlight dimly illuminated his heart. Azuma's words came back to him. If so, would I be able to smile when I accomplished my mission? Just as he was pondering this, the regional administrator appeared. He approached silently like a shadow, carrying a small lamp in his hand. It's too early for dawn. If you can't sleep, let me show you around the swamp. Without waiting for a reply, the regional administrator said, "Come on," and led the way toward the swamp. The moonlight was dim. There was an eerie feeling at the bottom of the swamp, as if a monster were lurking. Takeru stared into the deep darkness. At that moment, behind him, the shadow of a firelight rippled on the surface of the swamp. He noticed it, but it was already too late. Just as Azuma had said. He should not have trusted the people of Surgarmi and Sulugar. Takeru turned around to see the regional administrator and others raising torches, setting the entire field on fire. The disaster was not a raging god. The disaster was not a monster. The disaster was those people from Sagami and Suruga. The flames spread in an instant, forming a ring around Takeru. His escape route was blocked. The ring of fire narrowed, steadily closing in on Takeru. The flames scorched the sky and burned high above Takeru's back. Takeru had no way to escape. At that thought, Takeru instinctively called out his name out loud. Azuma. 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 Just as he was about to give up, he called out, Azuma, for the fourth time. A huge shadow appeared beyond the flames. It was Azuma, holding the sword Armeno Mulakuemo sword. He leaped over the blazing flames and appeared before Takeru. Yamato Takeru and Azuma were on a ship heading from Surgarmi to Baoshu. His hometown, Yamato Province, had no sea, so this was Takeru's first time seeing the ocean. The white waves that he saw out at sea reminded him of the clouds that Takeru had seen from the peak of Odaigahara, his old hometown, and were like a beautiful painting. The ship they were on was small, but the waves were calm. The ship they were crossing was merely a small strait. They had no fears. Takeru was thinking back. The disaster of the fire that befell him in Surgarmi and Sulugar. The sword Aim no Murakumo no Tsurugi was given to him by his uncle. Its power was incredible. When he drew the sword from its sheath, it radiated light into the heavens. With one swing of the sword, a wind blew, pushing the flames toward the enemy. With another swing of the sword, a torrential rain called forth, extinguishing the fire. But the event that moved Takeru the most wasn't the power of the sword. Azuma, without regard for his own life, ran through the flames, jumped into the fire, and came to his rescue. Takeru was deeply moved by Azuma's loyalty. A winter wind blew as Takeru and Azuma stood on the deck. The wind blowing off the sea was cold enough to sting his skin, making him shiver. Azuma noticed that Takeru was freezing, and put a fur blanket over him. Takeru asked, "Why do you make me call you Azuma?" Azuma replied, "Until death do us part, we will stay close by each other and live our lives together." In Japan, partners are called tumar. I am Takeru's partner. My partner, a partner, so please call me Azuma. And with that, he flashed a broad smile. Azuma. Artumar. A partner. Oh. My partner, Azuma. Takeru called out loudly. Azuma replied, "Yes." Taking Takeru by surprise, she hugged him with all her might. Once again, Takeru was confused. But this time, he buried his face in Azuma's large chest. Takeru felt more at peace than he expected. The sea breeze was not as cold as he had expected. To be continued.